what drives people to violence?
I think in the minds of Kenyans, we need to rebuild trust. Always when there is, what we're dealing with now is post-traumatic stress. Wherever there is violence, there is stress. And stress to the degree of trauma sometimes, where it is so stressful, it can be traumatic. And it can be so traumatic that it can be traumatic for generations. For example, genocide in Kigali, in Rwanda, kind of things, genocide in the Jews, you know, that it can be like generation trauma, apartheid, our own apartheid system here. You can have generations and generations of that, where it takes us so long to get over it, to get back our self-worth, to get back our self-esteem, to get back to think that I'm equal to a white man, you know. That's generational, you know, so that a child will be born today and you still think that the white man is superior to him because it's a generation trauma. So the 207 was traumatic. I would categorize it as traumatic. We saw it coming, by the way. It wasn't the day that it erupted. We saw it coming. We saw the tension building. We saw the killings here and there, here and there. We saw the machetes coming in. We saw a whole lot of stuff happening before the actual. Now, one wonders is, I think part of the anger, for lack of a better word, community anger, is why do we let these things happen? When you see it coming, why do you wait as a government, as a community, as a village, why do we wait until it explodes? That's one thing. So we need to be conscious enough to start dealing with one stitch at a time rather than wait for the big, massive tear. The other thing is, in trying to get a unified Kenya, I think it had the complete opposite. When we lose trust, tribal trust. You know, when I start to look at my neighbor as, I can't really trust you because I lived next to you for years. I was born next to you. You're Lua Makikuyu, and then the time of the violence, guess what? You turn against me. So now to rebuild that, we're going to have to do a lot of work at the community level to rebuild that. People are obviously saying, okay, you can say whatever you're saying, but how are you going to convince me that this is not ever going to happen again? You see, that's the trust I'm talking about, where people can believe what they're told. And the other thing I think is, if we take the onus, because every time in recovery, because Kenya will have to go through a recovery process, and every time in recovery, for anybody to heal, they've got to take the onus of that recovery process. So much as people want the government to do this and the government to do that, for me to overcome my trauma, I will have to deal with it myself. Because the trauma is in my mind, so I'm going to have to deal with it. So encouraging people to take the responsibility for their own selves, not just to deal with their own trauma, and also maybe create the facilities for them to have that sort of recovery process, but also to quit the blame game. You know, that again is that it's happened. Okay, so now let's deal with it. Living in the past is never, ever going to sort out anything. There are certain economic things that we need to do, like the IDP situation and all of that. That's an economic. But the fact that I am living in a tent, all very well, but what do I do for my own well-being, my state of mind, and my hope for the future? That is my responsibility, to recreate my own mindset, and then get the facility to be able to work that out, to be also able to say what my needs are. Because a lot of times we have people coming from outside, coming to assess our needs and then telling us, whereas if I can if I can speak, what do I need? What do I need? And then we see how best can we support you. I think that's part of the mending. But all in all, we do have to go through a recovery process. We need to create the process, and we need to make it available for those who are worst hit. Those who are not so badly hit, we can deal with them through mass media. But the ones who chronically hit, then we have to go into the communities and deal with them on a one-on-one. Yeah.